to the committee that put this together. Oh, wow, you did an amazing job. Let's put it together. So I'm going to start off by saying, if we know Aboti, he's from St. Paul's Baptist Community Church. Some of y'all maybe see me get a little emotional. It's going to be emotional again. At a young age, I used to go there, and my best friend, my cousin, we was dancing. He's a dancer. Dance for Outlet Italy, Creative Outlet. If you know St. Paul's, Travel, Michael Jackson, everything. We didn't know my cousin had a mental health illness from a trauma that he had from people that was close to him, which led from mental health to substance abuse and use, to a lot of stuff, homelessness, all type of things. So OT for you is just a dance. But OT for me is the purpose and the reason why I do what I gotta do. Because of my family and what I saw growing up. And as a child, you don't know, especially in a Caribbean household, what mental health is. We don't talk about it. That's why I started, when I was at East Flatbush Village, I started something called STAN Mental Health Initiative. And I'm going to say his name. His name is Stanley Drayton. So STAN, period, D, period. We got to stand up for our community. And we don't talk about a lot of stuff. And that's the purpose and reason why I'm here. So Sankofa is an African word. We have to go back to your family, go back to their history, your ancestors, to go forward. And if you know I'm very stubborn, I need to know what happened before we move forward. That's mean I gotta see you and speak to you in your face. So don't take it personal, but Sankofa. That's another thing from St. Paul's. I want to thank my pastor who had to run on a plane, and he was there all, like, I gotta get to this plane, but I have to be here. I see him torn between leaving and staying. But I said, it's okay, because he's with me. God is with me. Everyone in here, my family's with me. Thank y'all all. Thank you to the community. Thank you, everyone. I like to share that little story before I start. And like my pastor said, if I forget something, charge it to my mind and not my heart. We are not perfect. With God creation, he's perfect. And our perfect imperfection makes us unique and creative and everything that we are. So remember, when you're elected official, you're not perfect, all right? So if I forget to call your name or anything like that, please give me grace. And that's what we need in this community, is grace. Thank you. So, good evening, everyone! Happy Juneteenth! My name is MoniqueForNY, the Assembly Member of District 58, covering East Flatbush, Canarsie, Brownsville, and a little bit of Crown Heights. Thank you for coming to our Juneteenth community thank you event. Thank you for Lena. She was like, Juneteenth, yes. I was like, oh, we gotta do this beforehand, but this was the perfect time. God makes no mistakes. And as you know, we are our ancestors' wildest dreams living here today. I am the first Black woman to hold this seat in District 58. And I keep on saying, you don't take it for granted. Oh, my uncle's a little. Thank you, family, for being here. Thank you, guys. Let me see where I was at. This is my chance to thank you for choosing me to represent you in the New York State Assembly. And I don't take that for granted. People say, why are you doing a thank you event? I learned that from my former assembly member. You just keep on thinking, I'm thinking. Every 2 years he thanked for 30 years, right? Because people believe in the mission and vision of what we have. It's not my campaign, it's our campaign. Only one person's name is on the ballot because 140,000 people can't be there. And they said, Monique Channel Watermaker best represent us. That's heavy. And you can't take that lightly. And I don't take that lightly. That's why I'm standing up here to tell you, thank you, thank you, thank you. But I wouldn't be here today without God's blessings and my family and my friends. From the people He put in my life, like my mentor, Honorable Ambassador Nick Perry, New York State Public Advocate Germani, and my new mentor, Mercedes Narcisse, council member, the first Black council member woman in your district as well. We're making a lot of firsts here. And you know the Honorable Ambassador is the first Black Jamaican-born man to be the U.S. Ambassador to Jamaica as well. You hear a theme going on here, right? And I just wanted to say the reason why. Why did I run for this seat? We know that we have a public health crisis. And when we talk about public health, what does that mean? Gun violence, mental health, substance abuse and use, lack of access to health care, maternal health, social determinants of health. It's so much that impact us. And that's the reason why I was running, because all these things were around us. I found a nonprofit organization, as you know, with my husband, we co-founded, called East Farmers Village, Inc. Because I remember being a child not having certain things. I'm not working 2 or 3 or 4 jobs. And all these things impact us. So we wanted to have something to holistically take care of the whole entire family. We can't wait till the bullets come. One of my mentors, I used to say, cool, and God bless all of them, because right now, like 9 people or more got shot. I used to say, cool, to say, the trigger is pulled before the trigger is pulled. What does that mean? When we don't have a place to lay our head, when we have gun violence uptick, when we have the mental health, and we don't have the services and the resources beforehand, the trigger was already pulled. The physical trigger was pulled later on, and we're asking why. We have the answer. It's a deep-rooted issue that needs a multifaceted approach, and you gotta look at all those things. That's why when we do our Occupy the Corner, when we do our Safety Alliance on the streets, it's to bring the resources to our community members. Some people say all the resources are there. How do we access it? We always got to jump through hurdles, red tape to get it. So we bring it to your doorstep. And as your elected official, I promise to continue doing that. We got to keep on bringing it to the streets. The same way you campaign to get your seat, it's the same way you need to bring the resources and make sure people know about it. As an educator, first I started as a 24-hour child care. And the reason why I did that, I went to daycare to daycare. And when you have kids, my first daughter, you know I have a mother of 4 beautiful children. When you have kids, or you're someone you're caring for, everything looks different. The streets look dirtier. You don't want your child touching this, touching that. Nothing's good enough for your baby. So I told the daycare provider, you know, I love you, I love what you do, but I hope you can help me open up my own. So I used to work from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., like Sunday to Tuesday. My husband worked 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. I remember that. We didn't see each other. And we rotated because we don't want nobody watching our kids. Because nobody was good enough for that. You know that, right? So we started a 24-hour daycare, and that's my entry. I never knew that's what I want to do. But I said I want to be around my kids. I want to have influence on them. I don't want them to go through the hardships I went through. And what I felt I would be that, I knew that best. And I need to make sure I educate. You have to teach people how to treat you. And I have to teach people how I wanted my kids to be treated. So we started that journey with the 24-hour daycare that led to the nonprofit. I also became a professor at the school I went to, Berkeley College, where I did my bachelor's. And when I got my master's, that was an opportunity I had. Some people may not know. I'm proud today to say I'm part of BU, which passed the first Black study curriculum with Andrew Adams, right? And also the Nick Bill and the City Council, where we have it integrated into our public school system from K to 12. We're part of that movement. That's what children are about. Making sure we create after-school programs. We created at least, somebody said, the reason why the PS 135, the 9/11 was here, I went to PS 135. My mother went to PS 135. My 4 children went to PS 135. I went back and taught at PS 135. We created after-school programs for 110 kids with science, technology, engineering, arts, and math at PS 135. And I'm standing before you as the assemblywoman of PS 135. So organizing PTAs, advocating, protesting, doing all of that, that's how we get equity back into our schools, along with making sure all of our electeds are held accountable. Federal, state, city, we gotta work together, united. It's not a federal thing only, not a state thing, a city thing. It's not a I thing, it's a we thing. So when we talk about equity education, we need to really get resources. Affordable housing. People say, what's the most important thing? What really happens in our community? If you don't know where you're going to lay your head at night, how can you function as a human being when you can't pay your rent and you can't pay your mortgage? Your back is against the wall. My family come from Barbados and from Jamaica to the States, as we call it, for the American dream. And guess what? Some of us is a nightmare. You can't get your citizenship done. Thank you, Mr. Dalton Robinson and Vivian. And the former Senate member, he focuses on the non-voters. And how many people in the streets told me, I got my citizenship because of it. So we come here for the American dream. Can't get the paperwork done, or straight as they call it. Our parents gotta work, single moms, most of the time 3 and 4 jobs. Gotta leave the kids at home. Tell them don't open the door if anybody they ask them. If you get curious, they go outside. Right? Mm-hmm. And then some big homie, somebody sees you and say, hey, I'll take care of you, because they're looking for family. But mom is doing the best she can. And I'm going to go back a little bit. That's sometimes how we get to games and gun violence. We can't judge. But mom is saying, I can't pay the rent. So either I do this, and if she goes and asks for help, and you're not documented, ICE is threatening us. Immigration, right? Or ACS is weaponized against us. So we have to pay that rent, or we're in the shelter. Your back is against the wall. And that child, right? That founders with family have to find a way, because they don't want their mom struggling. So sometimes, I know mom, you've been through a lot. At 16 years old, I was paying rent and helping her to pay the mortgage. A lot of us is parentified because we don't have those options. Because sometimes parents say, I don't want to be in that shelter. So I may turn a blind eye to that $500 my 12-year-old is bringing home. We are creating the gun violence we seek to help. We have failed a lot of people in our community. So the why. That is the why. And we have some good things that we can do while we're waiting for the we're working on that, the area media income, to make sure it reflects our income. Hopefully we get to income targeted. We have some clergy in the house that's been doing some affordable housing that you see on this screen. I'm mixing my vision and my wine together, I'm sorry. So we have a lot of good things that we're doing, but we can't think just only about tenants. We also got to think about the homeowners in this community. That's another way to get affordable housing. And we can talk about that, whether it's making sure we make legal basements, or making sure the garages, right, Ms. Phillip, right? Making sure that gets done. So, that's my why. A little vision mixed in there as well. So, just under 4 weeks ago, you blessed me with the chance to represent you in the New York State Assembly. And I promise community comes first. I'm here to tell you, I made good on those promises, but there's so much more to come. Within hours of being sworn in, I started working alongside my colleagues. I see, he think I didn't see him. Assembly member Brian Cunningham. I see you in here. And many others. He ran like from his seat to come next to me before I spoke to make sure I understand what the protocol was. So thank you, my brother, for that. After being sworn into assembly, I helped, right, along with my colleagues, right, and the thousands of bills that we had to pass, for like thousands, it's hundreds. We helped pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act to protect our right to vote. A right we had to fight for, and that some of our elders died for our ancestors, the Juneteenth of the essence of the spirit that we're here, in spite of the fact that we built this country. Our right to vote is under attack, even at the poll sites today when I go. It's so frustrating being there. And the suppression, oppression, there's no translation for Creole. Mercedes, people don't understand at times. It's real. And we gotta keep on fighting. But we have done some great things today. You see those pictures up on the screen? Right, Congresswoman and Mama Clark, we were there to see Senator Zelmari, Assemblywoman Walker, as they, in partnership with a lot of great leaders like Hazel Duke and everybody, and NAACP was there to celebrate passing the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. Our right to vote is more, somebody told me this, it's not so much, it's more than just even our voice. The guy said we have a voice, but we need the mic. So when you vote, it's your voice. And the mic is that elected official that you chose. I hate the word politician. So the elected official that you have chosen with that vote. And we don't want a mic that's not broken, that's static, that stopped working on us. We want a mic that amplifies all of our voices. So that is very important. So people say, why are we talking about election all the time? You have to. And what I'm most proud of this campaign is getting those to vote who normally wouldn't vote. Thank you to our active adults who's gonna vote, our mid-level adults that's gonna vote, but our youth that we're staring at today, that came out to vote. Those that people have thrown away, those who I see occupying a corner, that may not be doing the best thing that you want, or you think they should be doing, but it's a mindset. When I go to the 40s, the 50s, the 90s, Canarsie, Avenue D, all around the district, to every corner, those guys you're seeing outside, who can't stay in their apartment because mama, grandma, 3 or 4 generations and 10 bunk beds, and you wanna know why they're hanging out? They don't have a living room. They don't have space. So they're outside. They could say that I I put you in office, because they were on the ground. They were knocking on doors. They were giving out literature. They were making sure that the person they wanted, that best represent them, that didn't throw them away, that look at them as the human beings they are. We're not born criminals. The community, the society, the lack of leadership gave birth to those criminals. Or so-called criminals. Just because you make a mistake doesn't make you a lifetime criminal. Our colleagues, like I said, will sleepless nights, so more legislation. And I have to say, I'm happy to have co-sponsored that bill, the John Lewis bill, and another bill I co-sponsor, the Clean Slate. There were still certain convictions after passage of time and certain conditions. As Black and brown people, far too many of us, especially our men, are still paying the price long after they stood the consequences of their past actions. No one should be punished again and again and again for traffic infractions, misdemeanors, and certain other crimes after serving their time and getting back on the right path. When someone is denied a job or housing after they're proven they deserve a second chance, they are being detained, denied, a chance at rebuilding a life. And we are being denied a chance of building a stronger and more compassionate community. No one is perfect. And half of the time, when we see what you was doing when no one was looking, there'll be a lot of convictions on you. And we gotta continue the effort and the passion in our community. And I'm gonna work hard with our community members, because I want our community members to help pass legislation by having monthly meetings. And those same guys that society has cast out, who know best about the law but those who was impacted by it, or those who was disenfranchised by it, those who had to stand before a judge? Those are the young men and young women that I want at my side when it comes to legislation. Sometimes we legislate against ourselves. I think Senator Prasad said it's unintentional consequences, right? Unintentional consequences. So today we're building communities is why we are here today. I also supported and co-sponsor legislation allowing community vans to pick up passengers on the street. How can we say somebody is our frontline workers, they're essential, they were out there, up and down, and we can't support the community van, family, and industry, not only just because of the transportation desert, but as I stood on the corner where there was a mass shooting and speaking to our dollar van, as we call it, Utica, Flatbush, right? They said, you want us to make an honest living, right? We asked to make an honest living. And they were doing that. When we had no rides, it was the buses, whatever was happening during the pandemic, they were out there. But they can't get insurance because it's not affordable. But they still want to make an honest living. So they said, what do you want me to do? So they get tickets after tickets, have to pay that price. They get harassed, they get arrested, incarcerated for just making an honest living. So in that same corner where there was a mass shooting, one of the young men said, what do you want us to do? We doing dollar van? We out here doing some other stuff in the corner? It's either this or that. I need to feed my family. And they went over the budget of me, the budget of what they gotta do. That leads to gun violence. So not only did we need to make sure that they could heal, the customers could heal them down and not get ticketed, we need to make sure they have affordable insurance, so we're gonna continue working towards that. And I stood and rallied. Besides that, I'm sure Leroy, Vivian, make sure you tell Pebbles I was up here talking about him, right? I don't want to get that call. We can't forget our healthcare workers, our heroes, our frontline workers, and I'm saying I'm sorry if I didn't mention anybody. They were out there with no PPE because we didn't need it right at first. That's what they said. But those heroes that we the pans and the pots was being beaten for them. They didn't get hazard pay. They got to fight to get paid. Hospitals wasn't made whole as they were designated COVID-19 hospitals. That's not the way we treat our heroes and our people in our community. The nurses, the doctors, our frontline workers. And it just goes beyond just the doctors, the grocery workers, the postal workers. It was a lot of people out there. So we have to continue fighting and advocating for them as well. This community raised me. People ask why I didn't leave. Why am I doing this? My mother was working those 3 or 4 jobs. She's not even a Jamaican in the family. You know how they say Jamaicans have 3 or 4 jobs? She's from Asian side. And I was privileged to have a village made up of my grandparents, my uncles, Uncle Ron, Uncle Karen, that's here, Uncle Gerson, and a lot more uncles. My teacher used to take me to St. Paul's Baptist Community Church at 6 a.m. in the morning. My neighbor used to walk me to school. My pastor, my father, brought me my brother John from Ebenezer Missionary Baptist Church that was founded by my late and great uncle, Carl Marshall. He brought me school clothes for the first day of school. He took me to great adventures with his kids. That community poured into me. And it's my job, it's my responsibility to continue to pour into the community that made me who I am today. I'm not good with following scripts, I'm trying. We have a vision in District 58. We have our staff members, Vivian Bent, 15 years, serving in the Assembly with our former Assembly member, Nick Perry. Dalton Robinson, 22 years. And we have Colleen Farrier, where's she at? Gonna be doing our events. So they do constituency. I can't even name your title because you do so much. We're gonna have an interfaith at the same route, same clergy, but I want to make sure everybody's included. Interfaith. Right, John Williams? Yes. Liaison. As you know, I have responded to crisis after crisis. And when you're in the assembly and going to Albany for 4 days a week, there's going to be crisis not going to stop because you're not here. So we need that interfaith liaison to have that lens of counseling and deal with crisis. Because we have our mothers for Safe City. We have our mothers, right, Maxine? E. Lewis, got it right. Natasha Christopher, all our mothers who lost their loved ones to gun violence. That when the call is made, we can't wait. And I need to have that trusted person that understands that lens to be in the office. Because where do we go when we have no hope? We lean on our pastors, our rabbis, whatever faith you serve in, you lean on them to get you through. So when they say the separation of state and city and God and all that stuff, but where do we campaign? Not in the church. We come to that same church. Why? Because the people's in the church. And I challenge our clergy, don't get upset with me. If the elected officials don't do what they're supposed to do, the clergy interfaith need to be front and center and say, not in my community. We are the gatekeepers of this community. If you don't come correct, other communities do it all the time. So I task our clergy, God Squad, who represents over 100 interfaith clergy members. We have the 70th precinct interfaith clergy. We have a lot of clergy at 69th precinct. I've challenged all of them to make sure you lock down Brooklyn. Because the devil's running been busy in Brooklyn, dividing and conquering and doing a whole bunch of divisive things. We got to be united. And I task our faith leaders to be that bond, because we have lost our way as leaders. And we need somebody to bring that together. And who best to do that with the same pace when we go to campaign for votes? Because we know the people are here. So they can lead the charge. They have been leading the charge when it comes to affordable housing. You see on that screen, we had the Ebenezer Plaza. Now in this district, 500 affordable housing. Our clergy is doing it. Our faith leaders are doing it. When it comes to mental health, who's counseling them? They're doing it. But still not called essential. But we were out there praying that night, praying in the hospital. Couldn't be let into the hospital during COVID because they weren't essential. That's something we need to make sure we work on as well. So the vision is, as we bring in District 50, as we bring resources throughout the whole community, we want to make sure resources get to the clergy, to the faith leaders. Well, we don't want to go to the doctor. They'll go to their pastor. They will go there and make sure we can educate on the pulpit. We can bring resources because the trust is here. We know the foundation. So we give the resources to those who can lead the way and get as many people as possible. Because you said that the vote is in here. You said you come to the church to campaign because there's votes here. So why can't we talk about faith when it comes to politics? So the vision is, of course, to make sure resources are up and throughout District 58, but to make sure the faith leaders have the resources to lead the way they need to lead. Every Monday at my office, I keep saying Nick Ferry in my head, his office, 903 Utica Avenue, we are outside of staff. We are not closed, we do appointments, but we are out on the streets 5:30 to 6:30, so anyone walking by can come and see who the elected officials are. I say that there are because many of us, right? The staff also represents an extension. You are only as good as your staff. So they're an extension of me. They are elected officials in their own right as well. We're going to have monthly, we've been having, correction, Nicholas, monthly meetings to educate our community members. That's why it's important I have this team with Mercedes and with Nicholas Perry as our next district leader. We need education on civics, on who's your elected official, how do you hold them accountable? And that's what they're going to do. How do you make legislation? That's what we're all going to do together. As I can't promise every time, but I want to come to the people to see what we're missing. The specialists, it's the community members. If you're going to do something for the youth have to be at the table. If you're going to do something when it comes to anything with guns, those using the guns, those shooters, those potential shooters, those impacted by gun violence, I'll give it to our mothers because they pray for both, because there's victims on both sides of it. They have to be at the table. As a leader, I promise you to be inclusive in that process. I don't know everything. It's the one name that could be on the ballot, but it's 140,000 people with 140 million issues and concerns. So in our office, in addition to the Mondays of being out, we are doing food pop-ups. I was sitting in the meeting, I'm going to end, Chris, I see you standing there. I was sitting in the meeting with the precinct to talk about the new anti-crime now community response team, and they said the hottest spot is the 90s. So after that meeting, I went to the 90s. That was the hottest spot. We got the inspector there. We got the DA's office there. We got those who are active in the gangs. We got everybody for the 90s to come out there. And they got a plan for the 90s. And that was before we even got elected. I say we, because we got elected. So make sure you know. Before we got elected. part. So that's what I'm talking about. I want nobody else to get jealous from any other part of the district. There is some beautiful things happening in the 90s. You're probably in this room, I met about a dozen young men and women who was giving out pamphlets to mothers for Mother's Day, who was giving out food. 6 weeks strong, we've been giving out food at Rutland Plaza in the hottest zone. We saw young men and women doing great things. And the majority of them are young men. That's how I'm going to stand with you. And we're going to provide resources. What do you need? Food, club. Sometimes people just want you standing with them. We didn't have much. I wasn't elected yet. We weren't elected. But you know what? When we got elected, and I went back to the 90s, the beautiful 90s as we call it, those guys that was cast away, thrown away, said they're not going to be nothing. And we stood in that corner for 6 weeks. Everybody that came out, they brought a cake, and they said, this is the assembly member we chose. And they were able to say that. That's how you do stuff like this. You make people part of the process, you support them, you learn from them. You can't just give someone a job and say, hey, go workforce development. Why don't you want to work? It's a mindset. So imagine that person that was cast away, that was told they're going to be nothing. Is sitting there and able to say, I did the work to make sure I chose my candidate, and I'm the reason why she's a assembly member. That's a mindset right there changing. Then imagine that same person or those same group of people can sit in Albany to help pass legislation that they created. I don't know if Jasmine's in the room. She's doing criminal justice. She's an intern in our office. And she's working with the same young men throughout the district. From East Flatbush, from Canarsie, from Brownsville, from Crown High. She's working with them to create legislation and create projects and figure out what's the needs and go through the assessment. I told them that y'all have the control and then y'all come to me. And then when we get there in January, we got some stuff to put on the table, right, Brian? So I'm going to close. Okay, Chris, I'm going to close. You elect me in a special election, and I hope the work I've done in the last few weeks give you a sense of my commitment to the district. I need to ask you to head back to the polls between now and election day of June 28th to vote for me, re-elect me as your assemblywoman, Monique Chandler Waterman. I know we say don't do politics, but if you don't do politics, you don't get to the work that needs to be done. Because you need to re-elect someone to do the work and the vision, the mission of what was just said. It can't happen just by me standing up here talking. It happens with all of us, making sure that we put our voice out there and our vote so we could get someone to give us the mic to amplify our voices. So not only re-elect me for assembly, but my team. We can't do this alone. This is not an I thing. This is a we team. And my we, Mercedes and Nicholas, please come up here, please. Because you need to see. I just want to make sure you look at our faces. There's a lot of people, like we said, over 140,000 people in the district. Mercedes Narcisse, mother of 4, advocate in our community, been doing the work. Very similar story that we have. I met my sister from another mother, another father, that I didn't know I had. No pleasure to meet you in this forum. Nothing's going to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect. There's going to be a lot of stuff. But when people see powerful people doing great things, because the power is in the people that gave us the power to do what we're doing. So they see power. Because they don't see the 140,000 people behind us. They just see us and want to come in between.
And don't forget the city council.
Yes, and the city council. And 200,000, I'm talking about District 58 and the re-elected for assembly and what I'm about to talk about with the team. And then we have my brother. I don't know him because of Nick Perry. I don't know him because of the ambassador. Because some people think, I have to break this down, because some people think a name or somebody saying that this is who I want is what gets you there. It's what did you do 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years before you got it. I don't know him as the ambassador's son. I met him doing work on the ground. As a non-profit executive crying that I cannot pay staff. Because people see money and they see computer allotments and don't hit the account. When I learned the comptroller's office can help start some stuff and make sure you get that money coming to your bank account, he became my best friend. So I saw the work that he did. So don't be fooled because his father's Nick Perry, that he's just running off of a name. What you see is people that did the work. That's not currently in the newspapers for the trickery that's been happening in the Democratic Party. So what you're seeing here in me as a Senatorwoman Monique Chamberlain, that I'm asking for you to re-elect. And Nicholas Perry, that I'm asking to be a district leader. And Mercedes Narcisse, that I'm asking to be a district leader. We know she's a city council member, we just talked about District 58 right now. It's a change that the Brooklyn politics need. This is a change. Because it's not about a title. We'll stand on our ancestors' shoulders. That's what Juneteenth is about. We're standing on the ones that's presently here with us. Dr. Una Clark, the Congresswoman, and many others. With integrity, with respect of people's vote, transparency, and we're here to educate, agitate, and then legislate. It's not about a campaign, it's about a movement. Sankofa, we have to go back to move forward. And the way you move forward is with good leadership. And I promise you that there's good leaders on this stage. We're not going to be perfect. Elected officials are not perfect. They need help. So organize. This is a movement. Tell your neighbors there's a change to come in Brooklyn politics. And the changes is not on this stage. The change is in each one of you sitting in here today. Now I'm going to ask my family to come up on the stage. No, you look stage. You're part of the family too, so you just can't get rid of me. And I have to do my thank yous. Thank you to my pastor for opening his doors. Thank you to Minister Chris, Associate Pastor, Donna Baptiste, Minister Malcolm, Bishop Finlater. You better tell if I'm missing anybody. Our chaplains, Worldwide Association of Small Churches and Chaplains. Nicole here, you're represented. Minister Nicole. I want to thank my husband, my children, my mother, my father-in-law, my mother-in-law, God rest her soul, my uncles, my aunts. I don't see my uncles up here. Gerson, Kendrick, Ronald, cousins. Come up on stage. Y'all have masks on. I may not see everybody, but y'all need to come up on stage as well. I want to thank our youth that was up here presenting. Is that Judge Marshall, my cousin? Is that the first black judge that was in New Jersey? Elizabeth, New Jersey? Is that my namesake, Monique? Is that Miss Jean? Is that Marvell? Our youth here today, PS 135, 911, Blue Angels, Mary Mayers, she's an identical twin. Can you get up here? She's an identical twin. She wasn't here, Elizabeth was here, but she sang her heart out. She was one of my students, former students, cheerleading and everything that we do. All the staff that's here, I mentioned them already. They wrote this to me, so if I miss anybody, it's the staff. We could blame Carlene mainly, okay, Vivian? U.S. Congresswoman Vet Clark, U.S. Ambassador to Jamaica, and Nick Perry. Thank you to Public Advocate Jamani Williams, Assemblywoman Jamie Williams, Assemblywoman Latrice Walker, Senator Roxanne Prasad, the Brooklyn Borough President Antonio Reynoso, Councilmember Mercedes Narcisse again, Councilmember Darlene Milley, Comptroller Brad Lander, our unions in the House, 1199, DC 9, DC 37, Local 924, 1549, Met Council Action, NYCC, NICENA, NYSUL, Working Family Parties, UFT, NICER, 504 Democratic Club, RACDEM, Real Action Community Democrats, founded by a former Assembly member. Our Tenant Association, Jimison Houses, Gorman Houses, that's all Mr. Bender in the house, Miss Fuchsia, Annie White, Sharon Graffin, Cecilia Foster, the whole Jimison Gorman clan, Brook Ellen Houses or Brookline, depends on who you are and how you want to say it. Brian, Unique, Angel, King, the tenant leaders, Flatbush Gardens, Rutland Plaza, Environmental Hood Restoration, our family from the 90s. I don't know if COM's in the house as well. Mothers for Safe City. I mentioned Natasha, Maxine, and the whole clan, God Squad. 7-day events, 7-day. Felina, those Felina Baka, making sure I know the difference. Going around with me on the Saturdays, all day long, happy Sabbath, right? All the clergy interfaith, our senior centers, Serena G, older adult, named after our late and greats, well, we can't say seniors, older adults, help me, right? Older adult, active adult, that's housed right here downstairs. Glenwood houses seniors, active adults, older adult center. Sundance, A-Star, Midwood, active adults. I want to shout out to the Duke family in the house. Our small business owners, just to name a few, Chef Choice, Tropical Breeze, Steve Original Jerk Chicken, Two Dogs to Go, Golden Cross. I gotta say that these are the people that make sure we're fed, they make sure they help, they come out, they do everything to make sure we're good. Our campaign manager, our super duper volunteer, Andrina Burgess, who said she couldn't do this. She don't know how to do this. They say, yes, you can. You was the first, well, here we go with the first black and the woman as a deputy chief of sanitation in this same year, BK 17, right? If you have to fight, if you only understand the racism that has to go on in sanitation, the stuff that she had to go through, the barriers, if a woman like that could get through that, to get all the way to the top, that's the woman I want next to me, next to me. Thank you, Adrina. So deputy campaign manager, I would say, there's a whole bunch of deputies here. Omar, Boucher, I should say, who have been harassing at DC 37 for the longest, finally came on board. To all the consultants that help out, all the volunteers, we have Shaka Fair, as mentioned, Kyla, we had Woodley, we had a lot of youth out there for Wayne, we had my 4 children out there, Yvette Barrow, Bernadette, see my county committee members as well. I see Georgia, Carol on the streets as well. I ain't gonna tell your age, but I went to school with her kids, so we're not gonna talk about that. Jade, Comics Inc. We had business owners that said, Monique, I just want to help. I'm going to donate this. I'm going to help you with that. Thank you to all of them. I know I mentioned Donna Phillips, but I got to make sure I say it again. It was if anybody else, I forget, please shout it out and help me out. Anybody else said Dominique should be on the stage? That's your fault because you're not on the stage. April's not on the stage. Get on the stage. Right? We got our family out here, Miss Rose. Where she's downstairs. Herbert, is Herbert in the house? Toyo, I see you over there. You come up here on the stage as well. This is how we got where we are today. I know we say sometimes like, why do we gotta mention everybody? But it took everybody to be here. Soon it's gonna be everybody on the stage and nobody in the audience. Because that's to show you, this was a people's campaign, a grassroots campaign. The power is in the people. Fidel got me protesting, gave me all type of troubles on 46th and Church Avenue. Out there, our housing advocates. Thank you to everyone. And like I said, if I miss anyone in the room, blame Andrina and Vivian and Dalton and Chris, Mr. Chris too. And my husband. I gotta blame him too. Don't leave the bus. Charge it to my mind and not my heart. I love each and every one of you in this room. And because of you, I am here today. We have so much more work to do to June 28th and then beyond. So I need all of you volunteers, help, support. I need you, and we need each other like our life depends on it, because guess what? Our lives do depend on it. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Chris, anything else? All right. Now they take it off the stage.
So let's give it one more time for our Assemblywoman, MoniqueForNY.